Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. Like most of the nation, we are currently England obsessed. So we are going to come to you today with our post-match analysis of the England-Sweden semi-final that happened yesterday evening. But before we dive into that, let's see who we've got on the show today. We welcome back Joe. Joe, my friend, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good, mate. Still on the same chair, but just in a different corner. So, yeah, we're good.
I'm all about Joe's chair journey. I'm here for it, Joe. I'm here for that content. So thank you for that. Dan, you are sporting the pre-match top from the Women's Euros. It is a thing of beauty. But less about your shirt, more about you. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, but I'm all good, thanks, mate. I'm so happy that I bought this when I did because it's currently out of stock. So it's all good.
Yes, it is very hard to find. I have tried and I have failed. Curtis, we welcome you back. Curtis, my friend, how are you doing?
Excellent. Glad to be here with you wonderful individuals.
And talking of wonderful individuals, we also welcome back Cam, aka Groundhopper Cam. Cam, my friend, thank you so much for giving up your time this evening to come on the show. How are you keeping?
I am doing wonderful, thank you. It's lovely to be here chatting with you all again. Thank you for having me.
An absolute pleasure as always, Cam. So let's get into it, guys. Before we talk about the specifics of the game last night, let's just talk about the Women's Euros in general. If you're a bit like me, you've been suffering from a bit of, I suppose, international fatigue over the last 20 years. Every time we go to a major tournament, the men's team, you know, it's we've beaten San Marino, we've beaten blah, 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 blah in the qualifying, we're going to win. And then it undoubtedly doesn't go very well. There's a whole media campaign against players, and it's all been a bit of a nightmare. And it's really turned me off following the men's international game. But I think that the Women's Euros has been an absolute breath of fresh air. Joe, do you feel the same way as me? Has it been excellent? You've been to a couple of games. What's it been like?
Yeah, unfortunately, just the one game was the quarterfinal. But yeah, from what I've experienced of the Women's Euros and everything on social media as well around it, is just utmost support for the players. As Ian Wright said yesterday, which I'm sure we'll get onto, is the most special team that he's seen in a very long while. But yeah, it's been unbelievable, and the quality of football has been just second to none. They're proving why they should be given more of a spotlight, really. So yeah, it's been amazing, and at the Amex, the atmosphere was just, as I said to you guys before, it was like some of the best atmosphere I've ever witnessed at the Amex, and that's just a credit to the game.
Dan, you've gone to the Amex a couple of times now, I believe, to watch some of the Women's Euros game. How have you found the atmosphere and the way, I suppose, fans behave in comparison to, say, like a Premier League game?
It is very different. I went to all the games at the Amex, and the England games especially were just amazing. It was nothing I've ever experienced before. As well as when I went to Norway, Austria, it was very different because obviously there was a few, I think it's a smidge of English people there, and I sat with more of the Norway supporters, and they were singing, even though they were 1-0 down as well. They're still trying to sing out, chanting and that. It was a very good experience, and I really hope that this sort of does dribble down, because I think some of the Brighton women are really hoping that this sort of trickles down to them, and I really hope it does, because it'd be brilliant for them and be good for the game in general.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk a little bit about the legacy this tournament can leave in a little while. Now, Curtis, you and me, we've been watching the games from afar on the TV. What have you made of the television coverage of the women's game? I mean, the pundits seem to be so excited. I mean, Ian Wright, he's just loving it, isn't he?
Yeah, it's been outstanding. I'm quite happy to see that it's been given the respect it deserves, and as much as the men's game. It's just been, as you say, a breath of fresh air. It's been so wonderful. I think, especially what with the hangover of the men's Euros, I still think that sort of looms a little for most. So to see us doing so well again in another major tournament has been really great, really, really great.
Yeah, definitely agreed. And Cam, what have your overall impressions been of the tournament? I believe you've been to a fair few games yourself. What have you made of it so far?
I've loved honestly every second of it, even the one just watching at home. But yeah, as you say, I've been quite fortunate to have gone to 6 games so far, all of the Amex, and the first game at Old Trafford, and a couple of games at Brentford, and the atmosphere in each of those games has been just second to none. It's just been amazing, and I think it really has been a breath of fresh air, and it's going to do wonders for the women's game. I think this tournament, and I know we'll go into more of that later on, but honestly, it's been incredible, and it's been so well put on as well. Like, credit to everyone who's organised it and all the teams that have taken part. It's honestly been amazing.
It certainly has been, and it's such a fantastic advert for the women's game. I just really hope, as we'll come on to a bit later, that the legacy, really sort of is embedded and people become more engaged with women's football. And because hopefully this tournament has shown what it can be. But we'll leave that chat to a little bit later. Let's talk about the game then, guys. So the starting 11 we saw against Sweden last night was, I think, the same starting 11 that Sarina Wiegman has used in every single game this tournament. Joe, where do you stand on using the same team? Do you think it shows a lot of trust from Sarina? Were you worried that there might be tired legs, especially against quite a tough game against Spain?
Yeah, and we played obviously an extra half an hour against Spain as well, and needed our finishers, if you like, to come on and help us win that game. In the end, I actually thought we might have started a little bit different against Sweden, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I noticed us finish the game against Spain with a back three, and Alex Greenwood came on, and I thought she played absolutely phenomenally well in that setup. And I thought it gave us that little bit more going forwards, and especially against Sweden, because they leave their wings so open and exposed. I thought we could have really hurt them down those wings with either Bronze overlapping with Mead, or Stanway and Kirby interchanging as they do. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised to see that we didn't go with what was working so well for us against Spain. But then again, as you say, that the trust in that starting 11 to really go full out for that first part of the game, and to knacker Sweden out, if you like. They're the second ranked team in the world. And yeah, they started brilliantly, don't get me wrong. And it's clear to see how they can hurt teams in their set pieces. I was petrified every set piece that came in. I thought they were really dangerous. But yeah, I think it's great from Sarina to trust the players that she's put so much faith into this far.
Yeah, and Dan, one of those players that was not maybe a surprise was Daly at left back. Now, I think it's fair to say that she had a pretty torrid time against Spain. But Sarina Wiegman, she stuck with her playing at left back. Joe mentioned about Greenwood coming on and playing really well in the back three. But we named, as I say, the same starting 11. Were you pleased to see Daly keep her spot at left back, or would you have liked to have seen a change?
I think it's, as you say, you have to keep sort of winning team going. I know that she did struggle in the last game. I did notice where I was, so I sort of could see everything and sort of saw that we started to struggle. But I think that's why that she is the winner, that she is the manager, to see that obviously we need to do a change. But obviously to go into the next game, I think it's good to keep the same 11, just to keep the legs going, keep the faith going, and luckily, as we saw at the end of the game, that it was the right decision in the end.
It certainly was, and she did have a fantastic game, has to be said. Curtis, Joe talked about this idea of finishers, and it was something that was raised by the pundits quite a lot. Now, I hope that we start to adopt this system in the men's Premier League game, especially now that the rules have changed. This idea that if players know that they're going to come off at 60 minutes, do you think that will help certain players knowing that they can just go all out for 60? They don't have to pace themselves to do the 90. If I'm a winger, I can go full out, run at them all the time, track back for 60 minutes knowing I'm going to come off. Is that something that you would like to see adopted in the men's game as well?
I think that'd be good. I mean, you could have certain individuals who might not have so much of a gas tank in them anymore. Like Lionesses and whatnot, for instance. I mean that'd be really great. Yeah.
We talk about Cam, that Sarina being consistent with her starting 11. She's also been very consistent with her substitutions as well. As I mentioned, this idea of having finishers that are going to come on around 60 minutes and to see the game off. And one of those finishers we will talk about in a lot more detail a bit later in Russo. Do you like that consistent approach that Wiegman has put in during this tournament?
Yeah, I do. I admire it a lot. Actually, it does take a lot of trust and loyalty to those players to, be consistent with the starting 11 and who comes on, and it does work. As you say, we've seen it throughout England's games. Have the same starting 11, and if things necessarily don't work, then who's going to come on and make an impact. And as you say, Russo has been perfect for that this entire tournament. Like, she's come on and been the super sub so much in this tournament so far, and I think why not keep it the same if it's working? That was saying of it, don't fix it if it's not broke type thing. That's exactly what I feel about that situation.
You literally took the words right out of my mouth. That was literally what I was about to say. Yeah, 100%. It's not broke. Don't fix it. One thing, Joe, just before we start talking about the match, it was something that really didn't annoy me. That's the wrong word, but I looked at it and went, what? And that was the fact that Sweden's holding midfielder was wearing a number 9 shirt. And as a bit of a traditionalist, I was a bit like just twitching. I was like, that should be a number 4 or a number 6. Joe, am I just overreacting here? But a number 9 holding midfielder? No.
It's slightly weird, but we've seen wingers with number 2. Cancelo's got number 7 for City next season. Rui Patricio wore number 11. I think was in tribute to Carl Akimi, I think his name is. But yeah, we see all sorts of odd numbers. But yeah, have a look at the Serie A. They've got like number 64, number 99. It's crazy. So yeah, I think they just pick whatever number they like if it's available.
I'm a football purist. I like my numbers to be in order. God, that's such a lame, nerdy thing to say. So, Dan, the game started. It was a very frenetic start. England gave the ball away almost immediately after kickoff, and Sweden had a chance within the opening few minutes. Do you think that was an early warning sign of Swedish intent?
They are number 2 in the world for nothing, really. You can sort of see that with their attempts and how much they want to push everyone to try and stop it. You want to try and quiet the home crowd down, really, as soon as possible. You see it all the time in every single game. They want to get the home crowd basically frustrated and riled up and to try and disrupt everything. But yeah, as I say, they're not number 2 in the world for nothing. It's you don't get there by chance. You get there because you're obviously very, very good. So yeah, very much a warning sign, but luckily everything went okay in the end.
It certainly did. It was a very end-to-end opening 20-30 minutes, wasn't it, Curtis? Could you catch your breath as you were watching it? Because if you were like me, it felt like a game of tennis. It was that way, that way, that way, that way. How did it feel for you?
It was a bit tense to begin with, definitely. I mean, they were pinning us back really, really well. We had to do a lot of defensive work. But the team all came together and they did a bloody fantastic job. And, until we managed to, I think we let them sort of tire themselves out a little bit, and then we were able to just sort of break through. So I was like, oh, thank you.
I suppose one moment, Cam, that had my heart in my mouth is when Sweden hit the bar from a corner. They were, as Joe's alluded to already, they've been very dangerous from set pieces during this tournament. What have you made of their set piece routine so far?
Yeah, as you say, they're dangerous. They're incredibly dangerous from a set piece. So anytime they had a set piece in our half, free kick, corner, whatever it was worrying, and it definitely was with that attempt where they hit the bar. And in all honesty, she probably should have scored. In all honesty, like, she was not that far out. Like, is she going, well, arguably on target, doesn't technically mean on target, I guess, by hitting the bar, but she probably should have done a lot better then. I think that was a massive wake-up call. And probably the little kick that we needed to just get a foot in the game, you know. I think we probably needed that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it from a Brighton perspective this season. I mean, the Liverpool game springs to mind instantly at Anfield. And one thing also, sort of similarity between Brighton and England last night, Joe, was this idea that England were getting to some really good positions, but wanting to take too many touches. What did you make of that, giving the ball away cheaply a few times as well? Did we just need that time to settle?
Yeah, I saw it so many times with Earps just gathering the ball and just saying, calm down. It was, as we've already alluded to, very frantic. It's a semi-final of arguably the biggest stage in the world. So many people watching. You want to do your country proud. You want to keep this story going. You can see that the harmony between the team is just magical. So yeah, I think they just needed to come back to the basics, realize that they can play their game. They are, if obviously after beating them, we are better than Sweden. The rankings go out of the window when it comes to playing on the pitch. Yeah, and as you say, we just needed to just calm ourselves and get back to the game that we know we can play.
Yeah, one aspect of the game that we know we can play, Dan, is I think she's probably one of the best right backs in the world, Lucy Bronze. You know, she's been phenomenal this tournament. But one thing I did notice Sweden doing was they were overloading down our right, because Lucy Bronze was bombing on forward, as she does, which is what we need in attacking sense. But it did mean that it left us a bit short defensively. What did you make of Lucy Bronze's performance last night? We'll talk about the goal in a bit. But generally, Lucy Bronze has been one of our standout performers, I think, during the tournament. What did you make of her first half performance yesterday?
Yeah, she played very well. You know, she got, I think she got at least one assist, I think, as well, with one of the goals. So yeah, I think she's just signed for Barcelona as well. So that sort of shows how good she is, and even as just a player herself. But yeah, she played very well. She has done, as you say, Tom, all tournament really. She's been probably one of the best right backs in the whole tournament, maybe, as you say, in the world. So, you know, it's all good. And luckily she plays for us. So that's all good.
Luckily so. And talking of the assist, Dan, let's talk about the first goal then, because it was a lovely goal from Beth Mead. First of all, it was a fantastic play down the left from Daly, who we spoke about at the start of the show about, you know, a few eyebrows being raised over her inclusion. However, she's the one that helped make that goal. She played a lovely through ball. You know, Sweden's back four was so narrow and we were getting so much joy down the flanks. And just a lovely little through ball into Hemp, I think it was, who puts the ball in, which was over hit, I think. And then Bronze puts it back into Beth Mead, who showed some absolutely exquisite control, Curtis, before turning and thumping it into the back of the net. How did you feel when you saw the net bulge and that goal go in?
I jumped out of my sofa, Thomas. I was like, yes, because I just knew that if we just kept on doing what we were doing, eventually we would get there. And to see it happen, I was filled with pride, Thomas. But it was a beautiful bit of play, as you said, excellent control, just excellent teamwork, really.
I think you've nailed it there, Curtis. Excellent teamwork. It was a real team goal, wasn't it, Cam? From the moment, I think it was actually a ball that started at the back with Earps playing it out. What did you make of the goal, Cam?
It was a fantastic goal, you know, as you say, great team play. But Beth Mead this whole tournament has been outstanding. She's leading in the goal charts right now. She's looking quite likely for the Golden Boot, fingers crossed. And she just showed her class that goal. She says a fantastic touch, set her up so nicely to swivel and half volley it into the corner. And yeah, we needed that. We needed that little bit of class, I think, to just get ahead in the game. That was what we were missing up until that point. Just a little bit of quality, a little bit of world-class play, to be honest. And yeah, settled us down after that, definitely.
Yeah, we definitely, you could see that we felt it seemed a lot calmer after we scored. And as you say, all it takes is a moment of brilliance to turn a game on its head, because I think you could probably make the argument that Sweden had been, up until that point, the better team. But Beth Mead isn't on 6 goals in this tournament for nothing, which I think puts her level with the most goals scored in a major tournament with any England player. I think it's 6. I think Harry Kane scored 6. Rooney had scored 6. I don't know. I mean, happy to be fact checked on that and proven wrong. All right. But I'm pretty sure I heard someone on the punditry team last night mention that. So how fantastic would it be, Joe, to see Beth Mead score again and be the all-time leading England goal scorer at a major tournament?
It's a Beth Mead world, and we are all just living in it. That's all I shall say on that matter, Tom.
Beth Mead is on fire and their defence is terrified. I certainly would be. Dan, as we've just alluded to, I suppose, it was a bit of a shaky start from England, very end-to-end stuff. But we go in at half-time, a goal to the good. What do you think Sarina Wiegman said to the girls at half-time? Do you think it was a case of more of the same, please? Or do you think it was calm it down, keep it simple? What do you think she might have said to the ladies there?
I think probably is that just keep it calm. Just we are 1-0 up. The game can turn on its head in an instant. Just go back out there, play as we normally do. Just don't think about anything else other than the next 45 minutes and just play the game as we normally do. Don't go for anything rash. Don't do anything bad. Don't just keep going and just finish the game off, and then we can think about the final then.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair shout. Now, Curtis, I really enjoyed the halftime punditry talk. I've really enjoyed seeing the insight of, forgive me if I mispronounce his name, Jonas Eidevall, who's the Arsenal coach. I've really enjoyed his punditry. He's so insightful about the game, and to see, that I suppose that knowledge come across on BBC broadcasting at 8 o'clock in the evening, or 8:45 as it were. It's just been really nice to see, and again, it just helps build the game, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah, definitely. I think they got exactly the right people to do it as well. I mean, again, they're all so passionate. They care. They're all so excited. I mean, you've seen those clips of like Ian Wright celebrating when we score goals and stuff. It's just wonderful. It's so great. As I said, everything about this has just been so great. It's been wonderful.
It certainly has. It's been amazing from start to finish, and I'm quite disappointed that it's going to end at the weekend, but end it must. So let's talk about the second half then, Cam, because it started very, very well. I think we scored within 5 minutes, if that. We had some more joy down the flanks. Sweden cleared behind for a corner. And who should be in the box in space but Lucy Bronze, who heads in for a fantastic finish. There was a VAR check, Cam. Did at any point you think to yourself, oh, God, VAR is going to ruin my day?
A little bit. But then I saw the replay and I could see that, I can't remember now who was possibly in the offside position and she was level. I was just like, it's all good. We're all good. But yeah, as you say, I think that was the perfect start to the second half, getting that goal pretty much straight away. I think probably helped to settle us more and kind of take the pressure off a little bit, lift the nerves. And yeah, it was a good finish. It was a good header from Lucy Bronze. She has a knack of scoring in the big occasions like this and when we need her. And as you said earlier, in my opinion, she's the best right back in the world in women's football. I don't think there's really anyone close to her. She's always been a step above everyone. And yeah, I'm delighted that she scored.
Yeah, quite easily, I would say the best women's right back. I mean, I must admit, my knowledge of women's football isn't as broad as it could be, but from what I've seen of her in the WSL and during this tournament, it's quite easy to see why she's been such a fantastic player for as long as she has. And she's a big game player, scoring like that in a semi-final, fantastic. It was a joy to see. But Joe, Sweden still looked dangerous. So we made some subs and on comes former Brighton WSL player Russo. And she almost has an instant impact. What an introduction it was as she lays the ball off, almost gets an assist within 30 seconds of coming on, Joe.
Yeah, she's a right handful. I would actually be calling for her maybe to start in the final. I think when she's come on, she's just provided something that just hurts every defense she plays against. And you can see that when she does come on, the defenders back off her, give her so much space and gives her the opportunities to feed those balls through, and like in the quarterfinal, she was a right nuisance, and she got the nod on, and then Toon bundled it home, which was right in front of me in the North Stand. By the way, that was like so spine tingling, because for the whole game I was sat with my wife and we were like, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then it just all happened in slow motion, and wow, it was just bloody amazing. But yeah, what a player to have on the bench. Like, Ellen White is class, we know that. I think she's 1 goal away from being all-time England top scorer, which is a huge credit to her. And yeah, what competition to have. Like, if I put the question back to you, Tom, White or Russo?
See, I was I'm in the same opinion as Cam has said. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think Alex Scott said the same last night as well. The system that we've got in place is, I think White is fantastic. She holds the ball up really nicely. I think that Russo is a fantastic impact sub, because you know that when she comes on around 60 minutes, she's going to run the opposition ragged. I don't know if White's got that in her game. So I'd be very tempted to, especially for the final as well, I would say don't change it. That was going to be my question to you, Dan. Would you play Russo at the start, or would you stick with White up top?
I think I'm in the same boat as everyone else, really. Just if it's not broken, don't fix it. I think, as you say, what she brings to the White brings to the game for up to 60 minutes is outstanding. How she keeps the ball up, and obviously as well, she's still a goal threat. She hasn't got that many goals as she's got, by not being such a goal scorer. So I'd be in the camp to say Ellen White to start, I think.
Yep, with you there, my brother. But it wasn't all England when Russo was introduced, was it, Curtis? Because Sweden, as we've said quite a few times already, they still looked dangerous. And we saw a phenomenal world-class fingertip save from Earps, from a set piece. Was a piece of outstanding goalkeeping, was it not?
I mean, yeah, truly fantastic. I mean, Sweden did not switch off. I mean, most teams, they tend to fold under sort of that goal pressure, but they carried on, they pressed us, and you're right, that save was outstanding. Just fully, she's just been incredible, made some really key saves that have kept us in the games. So, yeah, just fantastic.
Yep, fantastic saves, fantastic distribution, and all round, again, a really fantastic tournament for Mary Earps. I think she's been excellent. Cam, you lucky duck, because you get to chat about the moment that, let's be honest, we're all here for. This moment is still living rent-free in my head. I still can't get over it. I just can't. It was just such an outrageous thing. Why? What was going through her head? So we're, of course, talking about the Alicia Russo goal. She probably should have scored the first.
Tom, do you want to put like an explicit warning over this part? This is filth. All right.
Yeah, if you're under the age of 18, seek your parents' permission. Oh God, it was amazing. Cam, what did you make of it? The back heel, the audacity to try something like that on a semi-final. The audacity.
I'm like you. It's still living in my head rent free, going over and over and over. Just to have the confidence and the audacity to even try that, like in a semi-final, it's just outrageous. I was sat on the sofa. I literally leapt up into the air, like me and my mum were going crazy when we went in. It was something truly special. We're not going to see something like that again for a very long time. I think it was just unbelievable. And as you say, just to have the audacity to even try it out, like, and pull it off, like, incredible. Honestly, absolutely incredible. And she is a very, very special player, Alicia Russo. She's going to be an absolute superstar in the future.
She is, and what a proud moment we can have as Brighton fans to know that she has played a part, albeit however small or great, in the development of our women's team here at Brighton and Hove Albion. It was a truly phenomenal goal. The confidence, as you say, Cam, to even try that at this level, at this stage in the tournament, it just shows the confidence that that girl is brimming with, and fair play to her, because it was exceptional. Now, Joe, if Harry Kane had done that, we would still be talking about this in 10 years. This goal needs to stay on the tip of everyone's tongue for the next couple of years, doesn't it? Because we should not forget that just because it's the women's Euros, that these goals don't matter, and that the piece of skill isn't just as hard as it is in the men's game.
Those phrases, that for me, they don't matter anymore. Women's game, men's game, it's the same game. That, you know, it's still a ball, it's still 11 people, it's still the same size goal. And as you rightly say, Tom, it's like, if Messi does that, if Ronaldo does that, if anyone does that, it's shared across every single social media platform. Sky Sports, BBC, Lad Bible, Sport Bible, all the Bibles you want to talk about. It's just outrageous. I can't say much more on it. It's just unbelievable. And I was watching on iPlayer, so I was a little bit behind. And my cousin messaged me. He goes, "How did she miss that? ... and then score that?" And I was like, "What's he talking about?" Oh, that's what he's talking about. And you mentioned about her obviously being in the Brighton setup. Massive credit to our development in the women's game as well. I know I said I don't like that phrase, but it's best to keep it, obviously, so that people know what I'm referring to. That there's an England international that's played for our football club. Just as if it was in the men's game. If someone went on, like Jesse Lingard, when he got into the England side, we were proud. He was only on loan at our football club. She's now playing for Manchester United, albeit they're quite new to the WSL. But they're going to be huge in the future, there's no doubt. And they're going to be winning trophies, and she's going to be instrumental.
She has a very bright future ahead of her. Very bright indeed. And I look forward to keeping a keen eye on her development as a player, because that was something truly special that we saw last night from her. Really special. But it wasn't over, Dan. Kirby added a fourth with a lovely chip from distance. Now, the pundits were a bit critical of the Swedish goalkeeper. Do you think that that's harsh criticism, or was it just a phenomenal shot from Kirby?
It's a hard one to judge, really, because like the chip was so good. I think she did get a hand to it. It still went in the goal anyway. So she did try as much as she could to try and save it, and obviously just didn't get it. But to be really critical of a goalkeeper because they made a mistake, I don't want to say a mistake, she still tried. Maybe a bit harsh on them, but then again, as I say, she tried her best, but she just couldn't keep it out, and obviously it wasn't meant to stay out and then just trickled in. So it's tough for her to take. Probably she's probably not taking that very well. Probably thinking about it, but really obviously 3-0 to 4-0. There's not a lot she could do about it anyway. So I don't think she should be too tough on herself for it.
Yeah, I think she got a hand to it. She'll probably be disappointed that she didn't manage to do more to keep it out, but take nothing away, because it was a really nice goal from Kirby to add the fourth, and we almost added a fifth at the death, didn't we, Curtis? Once again, Alicia Russo popping up, causing a massive nuisance. She didn't score, but Curtis, how impressed have you been with our wonder sub, Alicia Russo?
I've just been wildly impressed with absolutely everybody, to be brutally honest. I mean, as much as Russo and loads of individuals have been fantastic during this tournament, I think we just have to talk about how great the team have been as a unit. I mean, like to go back to the Russo goal, right? When I saw it, it was like I got slapped in the face. I was like, oh my God, that's filthy. It was madness. Like, I've not reacted like this to a tournament or a game in such a long time, and it just feels very good. And like I said, we need to. Yeah, it's good to single out individuals, but we have to talk about the cohesive unit that Sarina has put together, and it's just been, again, I keep saying it's been wonderful, but it has been.
It really has been, as we said at the top of the show, it's been a breath of fresh air. It really has been. I can't credit enough, and I'm sure, like many of you guys, I'm so invested in this team. And win or lose in the final, I think we can all be very, very proud of what they've accomplished and how they've showcased what women's football can be. And it's been phenomenal. As you say, Curtis, we can single out individuals for their moments of brilliance, but generally speaking, this is a fantastic, cohesive team that's been put together from Wiegman, and she's done a really good job. Cam, was there a player yesterday that particularly caught your eye? Who would be your player of the match?
You know what? I'm going to give this to Fran Kirby. So I don't know if many know, but her last game for Chelsea, her club team, was back in February. She basically was out sat out for the rest of the season because she was struggling with a fatigue issue. So for her to come into this tournament with virtually no football for months and to perform the way she has, particularly last night when I thought she was incredible, not only at the top of the pitch, but in defence, she was tracking back, making breathtaking tackles in the box. You know, full credit to her for her to come in and make that performance. So with all of that taken into question, my player of the match has to be Fran Kirby.
I would have to agree with that because she struggled in the Spain game, I thought, I wasn't sure whether she was going to start the next game, and she just was outstanding. And when she went off, and I was like, you know, if the game ended now, she's player of the match by far. She looked so good, and she so definitely deserved a goal as well. So
definitely, Joe. Same question to you. Player of the match, please.
I'm going to make it a hat trick for Fran Kirby. I believe I'm right in saying, Cam, correct me if I'm wrong, she was nominated for a Ballon d'Or a few years ago, was she?
I think so. I believe so. She's definitely been one of England's best players for the last few years. She came on the scene at I think it was the 2015 World Cup.
Yeah.
And she's been phenomenal since then. So yeah, she's always been right up there, one of the best in the world, to be honest. Yeah, definitely.
And as you say, what she's been fighting with, a fatigue issue, and the poor performance she put in yesterday. If you sit an alien down in front of that game and say she's been struggling with a fatigue issue, they're going to laugh at you, because she was an absolute workhorse last night. She just wouldn't give up on anything, as you say, Cam, making unbelievable challenges in the box that bloody Iniesta would be proud of making, Xavi would be proud of making. So she should be so proud of herself that she's putting in those performances. And I really hope, and what a story it would be for her to put in another player of the match performance in the final, and win England a major trophy, the first since 1966. That is going to be huge for these girls, and I'm so excited for Sunday. But you could give that player of the match award to any of them, but Fran Kirby for me just edges it.
How about you, Dan? Who was your player of the match?
See, now knowing about the fatigue issue thing, I want to make it near a full house. I sort of want to try to be different and point someone else out. I think Millie Bright, I think she's done a decent job all the way through the tournament. I'd say maybe one of the unsung heroes in sort of all the games. She's so solid at the back. She's done such a good job there. So I'll be different and say Millie Bright.
Good shout. I think that, as Curtis has alluded to, it's been a fantastic team performance. I'm going to go with Hemp on the left wing because I thought she had a tough time against Spain. They didn't allow her any time and space, but she looked really good yesterday. Fantastic. I thought her attack down the left was superb, and I thought Daly did a fantastic job as well. We talked about her inclusion as the starting 11 at the start of the show. But no, I thought to a woman, they did a fantastic job last night, all of them. But Hemp, Kirby did a fantastic job. She would probably be my player of the match. But just as Dan said, to be a bit different, I'm going to go for Hemp as my player of the match. So we've talked about the game itself. So let's get on to some hard-hitting questions then, guys, because I don't want to make this a comparison of the women's game, the men's game, because as Joe says, this is football. But there are some things here that we will especially notice that there is some key differences. And the first, which is that this is the first final that the England women's have got to since 2009. Now, we saw the complete media hype around Gareth Southgate when he took the England men's team to the semi-final at the World Cup and then the final at the Euros. Do you think, Joe, that Wiegman will be hailed in the same way that Southgate has?
Unfortunately not, because as I say about Russo's goal, it would be plastered everywhere. It would be replayed on the news. It would be in your newspapers, everywhere. And the thing for me is the women's game doesn't get that same, and that's the issue here, is that it doesn't get the same broadcasting. It doesn't get the same
It doesn't, Joe.
coverage.
I'm going to put in a bit of a curveball here. Do you think in some ways, not in all ways, but do you think in some ways that benefits the women's game because there's been less toxicity, there's been less, I haven't seen a single newspaper article about what these players spend their monies on or anything like that, which we always normally see every time that there's a men's tournament going on. Do you think in some ways that could also be beneficial?
I think it could, and it's at a really good moment because it's still developing. And so there'll be ways to put into place things that have happened in men's football that are toxic and awful to not happen in the women's game, so yeah, that's a really tough question, but I'm stumped.
There's no easy answers, and that's why we've put these talking points in, because there are no easy answers. It's not something that, with all the best will in the world, that 5 people on a podcast can solve. This goes a lot deeper, and I'm very aware that there are 4 guys here and a Cam, and here we are trying to talk about how we fix the women's game. Cam, Ian Wright made a really good point last night about how this needs to have a legacy. We saw after the Olympics that all this promise was put on to what we can achieve, and then it all just evaporated. What do we need to do, Cam, to keep this momentum going? I'm a teacher. What can I do to ensure that young girls in my school want to play football?
I think just encouragement as much as possible. I think in a way some attitudes need to change still from people. I won't go into all of that, but because you guys will know what I mean. But I think that's part of it. I think some attitudes about women's football need to change. I've still seen some tweets this tournament which have been, on the sexist side, moaning about the quality of play. I think just some of that needs to change and just encourage young girls to get involved more. And I think what Ian Wright said was really interesting, because I think this tournament could honestly skyrocket the game in this country, possibly in Europe as well, even further. Like comparing to when I was growing up, there wasn't girls teams around, and I'll admit it's a lot better now than it was, say, 20 years ago. There is a lot more opportunities for young girls and women to get involved in football, but there is still so much more to be done. And I think changing attitudes for start and just making resources available. If clubs want to start a women's team, then give them the funding, give them the resources to start those clubs for young girls to get involved. But as you say, I think it is quite a deep issue. I mean, there is a lot of different layers involved, but I'd probably say, for me personally, like being invested in this for so long, that's probably a good starting point, in my opinion.
Cam, what you said about the toxic masculinity side of things and people turning around and saying, the quality of football, this, that, and the other. I'm sure there'll be comments made about the Sweden's goalkeeper yesterday. But that happens in men's football all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And people never pick up on that. Sanchez, Sherpen have made 2 goalkeeping mistakes in the preseason friendlies. Yeah, they get laughed at and memed. But
they're men, Joe. Men's football is just not the quality it should be.
This tournament is the biggest middle finger to those dinosaurs. They are dinosaurs. And it's like, why are you even having an opinion? If you don't like it, just move on. If it makes you that insecure, just don't talk about it. And I don't know, go down your men's pub and have a laugh about it. But there's no place for it in our society and in this day and age. Yeah, dinosaurs.
Just to quickly add to that as well, there was a penalty that Wendy Renard for France took, and it had Simon Jordan who is the ex Crystal Palace owner, as we all know, mocked it. And then what I did like is that his tweet was then full of people sending him Crystal Palace penalties from over the years that have been blazed over the bar have been horrendous. So that's the good side of things. But you still have people like that who are very prominent in football that have those opinions and will, look to belittle the game where possible. And it goes back to my point about how attitudes do need to change, particularly with people like that, who are fairly well known and have an influence.
Curtis, do you think that this tournament will be the spark that starts to change attitudes? I mean, we've all said on our group chat, I mean, how excited we've been, how invested we are. Do you believe that this could be the start of something pretty wonderful, pretty spectacular for women's football?
It should be, but I think it'll take a lot of different individuals with a stage to actually speak out about it, because like you said, we're only 5 people on a podcast, and we can say all these things, but unless we start putting these things into action, nothing's ever going to change. We can all just say, like, more of this for women's football, more of that, and what have you, but unless things are done and set in stone and put to paper, nothing will ever change. And I just hope that that this will kick that off, and we can just hope.
Let's hope so. And Dan, what can Brighton do to help that? Do you think something as simple as saying that the WSL home games being played at the Amex, is that something, a nice, simple, say, quick and easy fix to help Brighton women's team, get more publicity for fans to go and see them? Because I think I'm right in saying that they play a lot of their home games in Crawley. They need to be playing them in Brighton, and it should be at the Amex. What do you think about that, mate?
Just like you come with me and this, I've been popping about this all the time. It was when they released the video about Russo today, and I was sitting there going, "Oh, Lancing was amazing to go to back in the early days, because it was so easy to get to. It's a train, short walk, and that was it." And obviously, Crawley's ground is pretty much in the middle of nowhere. I know that they say, "Oh yeah, we give free bus travel and that," but it's not the same. When you want to travel to the game, the same way you do as going to a men's game. You want to travel up there properly. And surely there must be a ground somewhere in Brighton that they could do their games in. Because, let's say, we did it at the Withdean. I don't know if the Withdean's still able to host games anymore like that. But then, somewhere even closer than that, because we had it in Lancing, surely somewhere like, I can't think on the top of my head right now, but surely there's a better option, even if it's just like at the training ground in Lancing, as we have some of the youth games in. That would have been even better than that, because that's a little bit longer than Lancing's ground, the Sussex FA ground. It's just a little bit the other way around, but it needs to be somewhere more accessible for people to get to, because I know that some people have said the reason why they don't go to these games because of it, where it is. And as when you go to the Amex, there's loads of people come. It's not just obviously for the Euros as well that people come. Obviously, I've got 20-odd thousand. I mean, when we had the last game there, I think it was something like about 10,000. I want to say somewhere there that range. And at Crawley they get 1,000, maybe 2-ish. Obviously, there's not a coincidence that happens, because it's where it is. And if it was somewhere more accessible for us fans to go to, we'd be more likely to go. I know they did a thing for it, and they said to ask people to start to basically fill out what they did. I literally made sure my point was, while I'm writing this out, was that the women's ground for where they play needs to be somewhere accessible for people to go to. Either it's at Brighton, back to Lancing, to somewhere easier to get to, whichever that way is. Unless it's the only option is Crawley, and obviously then that's fair enough. Obviously, I say, if they can see, maybe try and host more games at the training ground, maybe. But other than that, I would love to see maybe more games in the Amex. I think they're doing more this season, because normally you have one. I think they're doing 2 next season. So it's a bit more of an improvement, but maybe not all of them at the Amex, but maybe a bit more to sort of get more people to be more interested than maybe some at Crawley or somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, for a club that was homeless for so long, and didn't have a full-time ground in the city that we belong in, it seems mad that we wouldn't. We're almost kind of condoning the not condoning. We're sort of like saying the same. The women's team are going to be homeless for however long it takes us. I don't see. I know Paul Barber has said about the keeping the pitch to a certain standard to play Premier League football on, and I get that. But we need our women's team to play their game in Brighton.
Thing is, Tom, like so many millions of pounds have been invested into the training ground. I'm not going to sit here and try and spend Tony Bloom's money. That's not what I'm trying to say. But there's been a lot of money put into the women's side of the training ground, which is amazing. I'm hoping that there's so many open areas and so many places in Brighton that a ground could go. So I'm hoping that in a few years' time we can invest a few £1,000,000. Again, I'm spending Tony Bloom's money, but invest that money into the women's game and make it accessible. Because I am going on record now and saying if those games are more accessible, I would buy a women's season ticket. I was umming and ahhing about buying one this season and how I would get to Crawley from Littlehampton. But I really don't know how possible that is without getting trains here, trains there, change at Gatwick, get back to Crawley. It's just a pain in the arse. And yeah, make it more accessible, invest the money. Like, honestly, I would rather than spend £10 million on a ground for the women back in Brighton than £10 million on a first team signing for the men's team.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, we're spending that sort of money on players that aren't going to play for us for like 3 or 4 years. So, as you say, Joe, we don't want to spend Uncle Tony's money. But surely if we want to be one of those teams that is at the forefront of this revolution in women's football, we're going to have to make that investment. And so much has been done, but there is still so much more that needs to be done. And talking of things that we need to do, I put in a little question, Joe, that I'm going to come to you with, because I know you said you were looking forward to answering it. And that was a question about female coaches. Do you think we will see them enter the men's game? And if they do, which they should do, which team do you think is most likely to be the first team to make that choice?
I'm not sure what team would be the first to make that choice, but a couple of coaches that have really impressed me in the women's game. Emma Hayes, she's world class. I love listening to her talk about football. And obviously the current England coach, Sarina Wiegman, I think I've pronounced that right. They're just unbelievable football brains. And yeah, it would be great for them to get a job in the men's team. But how about keep all of these incredible football brains into the women's team and just help progress the game that is progressing so well? They move away from the women's game into the men's. We lose 2 influential people, like extremely influential people in the game that's doing so well. So I say you keep those people and you just power it through and make the game what it can be, because it can be so special. Like, I've got a 1-year-old daughter. I've got this dream of her playing for England, of her playing for Brighton. I won't force it upon her because it's her choice, obviously. But in 20 years' time, where will the women's game be? It could be as big as the Championship. It could be as big as the Premier League. Who knows? That the sky is the limit for this game. And I've got very high hopes for my daughter to get into playing football. As you say, Cam, when you were a little girl, there wasn't many opportunities. But now, yeah, slightly better. In 10 years' time, who knows? There could be girls' teams all over the county, all over the country. So I say we keep these incredible human beings in the game that they love and the game that they want to develop, and inspire other people to do the same.
Definitely, Joe. Definitely. Cam, where do you stand on this? Would you like to see women's coaches enter men's football? Do you think that's the next progressive step?
I personally would love to see someone like Emma Hayes in the men's game for sure, because I think she is more than enough talent to do so. I definitely take Joe's point. I think we do need more world-class coaches in the women's game to help progress the level of it. which I think has definitely been the case within the last few years, like Emma Hayes, for example, Sarina, the Arsenal manager as well. He's been very successful, not just with Arsenal, but in Norway. So yeah, I definitely take Joe's point. I definitely agree with that to an extent, but I'd love to see someone like Emma Hayes in a men's game for sure, and I think she would more than deserve it. I think she was being, correct me if I'm wrong here, like if I could get fact checked after this, completely fine. But I think when Crawley were looking for a new manager, she was potentially on their shortlist. I don't know how true that is. I just saw that as paper talk, but maybe a team like that, you know, a League One, League Two side could take a chance on someone like Emma Hayes, and I think it would be great if they did. But yeah, kind of half and half. I agree with Joe to the point, but it'd be great to see coaches like Emma Hayes in the men's game, 100%.
Yeah, and I take your point, Cam, what you're saying about where that's likely to be. Now, you might be wondering, fans, if you're watching this, why is a Brighton fan sat in front of two shirts that are not Brighton shirts? Well, there's a reason behind that. The shirt to my left is a Forest Green Rovers shirt. They are a team that I have a lot of spiritual connection with. They are the world's greenest football team. And
We get it, Tom. You're a vegan.
I'm vegan and I care about the environment. That's the planet that I live on. Woo! Yeah, that's right. I care about this ball of mud and water because I'm one of the idiots who live on it. But Forest Green Rovers, I don't know if you guys know this. Forest Green Rovers I think they're the only team that has a female head of the men's academy, in a lady called Hannah Dingley. So she is the head of Forest Green Rovers Academy. And when they were recently looking for a manager, I think they were quite hopeful that she would go for the position. She chose not to. But I know that Dale Vince, the owner of Forest Green Rovers, a man that I have met on several occasions and is a very nice chap. I know that he was quite hopeful that she would go for it. Unfortunately, she didn't. But again, they're a team that I see. They're a very progressive team. They want to move in the right direction. So I could totally see Forest Green Rovers being one of the first men's teams to do that. And the team to my right is Sussex own Lewis. Now, I'm sure you guys already know that Lewis are the only club in the world to pay their men's and women's team equally, which I think is a fantastic thing that they should be doing, especially as the women play to a higher standard than the men's team. The women play in the championship of women's football, whereas the men's team play in the eighth tier of men's football. So you could say that there's a disparity there. But again, I can see Lewis being, a quality FC. They could be a team that would appoint or wouldn't be afraid to appoint a female coach or manager, whatever you want to go for it. My own personal 2 cents is I don't think that anyone's gender should stand in the way of them going for the job or except getting the job. So let's hope that eventually we will see
Tom, I absolutely agree with you. Gender shouldn't even play a factor into it. If these people are able to train individuals at football, then they should be up for the job. I don't understand it. I don't why people would be so bothered by a woman managing a man. It's mind-boggling to me. But there we go.
It baffles me as well, Chris. So we all have the same brain. Sure, we have different hormones, but we have the same bloody brain. We've got the same eyes. We can see exactly the same things. We have 2 legs. We've got 2 arms. It's just mind-blowing, as you say. Like a gender can get in the way of no, sorry, we're not going to appoint you because, yeah, exactly what we've been saying. So, mind-blowing.
Let's hope the dinosaurs they move.
Well, listen, the dinosaurs died out. Historically, that's what happened. So
they did. I like dinosaurs, like the real ones, not like the sexist, misogynist ones. They're not cool, bro. Get out of my game. So yeah, there we go. There's our little bit on that. Now tonight, guys, we find out who England will face in the final. Yeah, we're going to go back to the actual Euros now, and it's France versus Germany. And the final will be on Sunday at 5 o'clock, Joe.
I thought it was 4, but
I thought it was 4 as well.
Broadcasting starts at 4.
the build up and all
At
that.
5.
Kickoff is
I
at
was
5.
I was on my phone this morning trying to get tickets for the final, stressing myself out. We went to the doctor's surgery for my daughter's jabs this morning. Horrific experience, by the way. Tom, you've got that to look forward to. Dan, you also have that to look forward to. Good luck. But yeah, we literally got onto the ticket page, and then her name got called. We were literally 4-5 seconds away from going to the final.
Make sure you tell her this when she's 18. You'll be like, listen, right? Listen here, you know.
I was gutted. We came out the doctor's surgery, and my wife goes, "Joe, I got onto the ticket page." I was like, "Try now." All sold out, obviously. Who wouldn't want to be there? But yeah, we were this close.
That's why I chose to be single. So
that this moment that it would never happen. Okay, what we're going to end on, guys, is a simple question. Very simple. Yes or no? Is it coming home? Joe, is it coming home?
Yes.
Dan, is it coming home?
Of course it is. Yes.
Curtis, is it coming home?
according to all tracking apps, yes, it is indeed on its way, first class, as we speak.
That's what my Amazon delivery said, and it never arrived. I'm not bitter. I'm just fuming.
Did you get your hangers, Tom? It's just random, but did you get your hangers?
Is it from the 2021 men's Euros where our men bottled it? No. Okay.
You're basically saying this. Amazon's making hanging
I'm supposed to
about.
be asking Cam if she thinks it's coming home. Cam, is it coming home?
I hope so.
You
That's
don't
all
want
I'll
to jinx
say.
it. You don't want to jinx
No,
it.
I don't want to. No, I, as I said to you guys earlier, I refuse to sing the song at the moment. So I am being a little bit
You can
pessimistic.
whisper it if you want, Cam. You just whisper it instead.
I hope so. I hope it comes home.
It's coming.
Yeah. Let's hope it certainly does come home. But as I said, guys, no matter what happens, whether it comes home or not, we can be incredibly proud of what the England women's team have achieved during this tournament. And if nothing else, let's hope that a new generation of young women can grow up knowing that if they want to play football for their country and they put in the hard work, they can do. If nothing else, let's hope that. I mean, the moment yesterday we saw that young girl singing Sweet Caroline, it was wonderful to see. You know, that passion. And she was on BBC Radio 1. I think she just said she was signed by Leeds. So fair play to her. So good for you, girl. Good for you. And on that note, guys, we will say a good evening, a good night, a good day, and a good morning to you, whenever you may be. Thank you very much to Joe, Dan, Curtis, and Cam for joining us this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys, to be England obsessed with you all. I hope that you have a wonderful final, guys. I hope you enjoy it wherever you may be. Let's hope that we bring it home and do the country proud.
I could have been at the stadium, but you know, doctor's surgery and stuff.
Children, eh?
You just well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more if you haven't already done so. We have been Albion Obsessed, and we've been England Obsessed. We'll see you next time. Take care.